top Trump aide reveals stunning warning he gave Fox boss about Megyn Kelly, she's the devil, and while the so-called feud between then presidential candidate Donald Trump and then Fox News host Megyn Kelly generated plenty of headlines, it spawned a different feud behind the scenes. Fox News chairman Roger Ailes, Kelly's boss when Trump's presidential campaign began to gain momentum, and Trump campaign advisor Steve Bannon, the former Breitbart News executive, were clashing at the same time. The conflict fractured a once close relationship, according to a story by Politico's Eliana Johnson. According to Johnson, Bannon claims he issued a warning to Ailes about Kelly. In a conversation with Ailes, Bannon reportedly said of Kelly, "She's the devil, and she will turn on you." Throughout the Republican primary race, both media executives vied for Trump's favor, but didn't see each other as rivals. Fox News had provided Bannon with a platform before. In 2010, he appeared on Hannity to promote his documentary Generation Zero. In subsequent years, Hannity continued to give Bannon's films airtime. While populists like Bannon praised Trump for his America First position, intellectual and social conservatives balked at his combative rhetoric. Trump's run for president also exposed divisions among a number of conservative personalities throughout the media. After the first few months of primaries and it became clear Trump would secure the Republican nomination, some hosts and commentators at Fox News remained in opposition. Kelly was chief among the dissenters, and the more Fox aired anti-Trump programming, the more Ailes and Bannon drifted apart, the report said. Following the first Republican presidential debate in August 2015, in which Kelly was one of the moderators, Bannon and Alexander Marlowe, the editor-in-chief of Breitbart, co-wrote an article under the headline "The Arrogance of Power, Megyn Kelly's Good Journalism." The piece took particular issue with the question Kelly put to Trump regarding women. "You've called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs and disgusting animals. Does that sound to you like the temperament of a man we should elect as president?" Kelly asked in her first question to Trump. The big rift between Breitbart and Fox was all over Megyn Kelly. "She was all over Trump nonstop," Bannon told Politico. "We had a massive falling out over the first debate, over her treatment of Trump." Ailes was forced out of Fox News last summer after a sexual harassment lawsuit was filed against him by former Fox anchor Gretchen Carlson, and a subsequent company investigation into Ailes included comments by Kelly that Ailes had also harassed her. Kelly turned down a reported $25 million annual contract at Fox and left for NBC News in January. Obama's humiliated by hometown paper after they begged Trump to help with this mess. President Barack Obama and other Democrats have long considered Chicago and traditional media to be safe allies. Surprisingly, a scathing newspaper editorial from the former president's liberal hometown is calling that assumption into question. The editorial board of the Chicago Tribune recently had harsh words for both Obama and former Senator Harry Reid over the appalling mismanagement of the Yucca Mountain nuclear waste storage proposal. That remote location in Nevada has been selected to store spent nuclear fuel. Instead, the previous administration delayed and derailed the project, and Chicago residents were directly affected by the meddling. One of those, Yucca Mountain, opponents, alas, was Harry Reid, who for 10 years was Senate Democratic leader and in a position to get his way, explained the Chicago Tribune editorial board. As president, Barack Obama gave Reid exactly what he wanted, closing down the entire effort. Stopping the waste storage plans may have gained the Democrats short-term political points with left-wing environmentalists, but it also angered many people in Obama's home state of Illinois. Illinois has more of the spent fuel than any other state, including 1,000 tons at Zion, on the shore of Lake Michigan, the editorial explained. The 79,000 tons of existing nuclear waste, after all, have to be stashed somewhere. Right now, that somewhere consists of dozens of sites across the country, including the mothballed plant in Zion, stated the editorial. This haphazard approach makes no sense from the standpoint of safety or security. On the contrary, it creates unnecessary risk of environmental disasters and terrorist attacks, unlike the formidably impregnable Yucca Mountain. A common criticism of the Yucca Mountain storage plan contends that the site is unsafe or bad for the environment. However, experts have confirmed that these alarmist fears are unfounded. During the Obama administration, both the Department of Energy and the Nuclear Regulatory Commission gave their approval to the project. The NRC's report found that there would be no significant environmental impact over a staggering 1 million year period. The Chicago Tribune went even further than calling out Obama, and suggested that President Donald Trump should act soon to fix the situation. With Reid finally retired and Republicans in control of Congress, now is the time to get it done, the newspaper declared. Yucca Mountain is the only viable alternative to the jury-rigged status quo. We hope the Trump administration and Congress will revive it. Trump makes massive announcement just in time for first 100 days, he's really doing it. It's going to be huge. President Donald Trump said Friday that a massive tax cut will be coming to businesses and individuals when he unveils his tax reform package next week. We'll be having a big announcement on Wednesday having to do with tax reform. The process has begun long ago, but it really formally begins on Wednesday, Trump said later while signing executive orders. He told AP, without providing numbers, that the tax cut will be bigger, I believe, than any tax cut ever. Trump said last month that he was looking for a major impact when he rolled out his tax plan. It will be the biggest tax cut since Reagan and probably bigger than Reagan, he said. We are the highest taxed nation in the world. And we are going to bring taxes way down, Trump said. Trump also said he wants to simplify the rules for middle-income taxpayers by reducing the number of brackets. Trump's comments came after he signed an executive order Friday aimed at reviewing a series of Obama administration rules aimed at blocking U.S. companies from moving their headquarters overseas as a dodge to reduce their taxes. We're going to lower our business tax, which is the highest in the world, the president said Friday. In one order Trump signed Friday, Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin was directed to begin the process of tax simplification. The federal tax system should be simple, fair, efficient and pro-growth, Trump's order said. Contrary to these purposes, numerous tax regulations issued over the last several years have effectively increased tax burdens, impeded economic growth and saddled American businesses with onerous fines, complicated forms, and frustration. Immediate action is necessary to reduce the burden existing tax regulations impose on American taxpayers and thereby to provide tax relief and useful, simplified tax guidance, the order said. White House Budget Director Mick Mulvaney told Bloomberg Television Friday that the goal of the tax reform plan is to provide 3% annual growth. We're trying to backfill from there, he said. In face of Inca war, Hawaii responds with shocking warning for its citizens. As tensions on the Korean peninsula continue to rise and the North becomes increasingly bellicose in its desire to obtain and use ballistic missiles equipped with nuclear warheads, some Americans are beginning to think about how they would survive a potential nuclear attack from the rogue communist regime. While it is thought that North Korea doesn't yet have the capability to reach the mainland United States with a nuclear missile, the same cannot be said for the Hawaiian Islands chain, which is inside the range of some of North Korea's more advanced missiles, according to the Honolulu Star-Advertiser. In fact, Hawaii is not just in range of North Korean missiles, but also presents a rather unique, strategic target for any enemy, given it is the home of several important military commands, most especially the headquarters of U.S. Pacific Command. The increased threat of a North Korean attack on Hawaii recently spurred the Public Safety Committee of the State House of Representatives to unanimously pass a resolution urging lawmakers and citizens to take steps to prepare for the worst, according to the Associated Press. First and foremost, the resolution sought state funding for an effort at cataloging, re-equipping and refurbishing the hundreds of disused and forgotten Cold War-era underground bunkers that dot the island of Oahu, many of which were stocked with medical kits, food, and sanitary kits, the AP reported, but were cleared out and forgotten after with the fall of the Soviet Union in 1991. The resolution, which is now under consideration by the House Finance Committee, also called for an update of the state's nuclear emergency response plan, which reportedly hasn't been touched since last updated in 1985. According to Breitbart, the resolution also requested state authorities conduct public awareness campaigns to ready the public for a nuclear disaster. To be sure, lawmakers insisted they weren't trying to spark fear or panic among Aloha State citizens, but merely wanted them to take note of the very real and credible threat they faced and act accordingly by making appropriate preparations to survive a nuclear strike. Hopefully, those preparations and efforts to re-equip Cold War-era bunkers to survive a nuclear war ultimately prove unnecessary, but in the meantime, they better rapidly do what needs to be done instead of arguing about it at length, as politicians tend to do. Please share this on Facebook and Twitter to let everyone know what lawmakers in Hawaii are preparing to face. What do you think of this preparedness resolution from Hawaii lawmakers? Scroll down to comment below. Trump scores huge victory for pro-lifers. Puts Planned Parenthood in its place. In a crucial reversal of former President Barack Obama's pro-abortion policy, President Donald Trump recently signed legislation that would allow states to withhold funding from clinics that provide abortions. The resolution, H.J. Res. 43, was approved by the Senate at the end of March by a vote of 51-50, with Vice President Mike Pence casting the tie-breaking vote. On April 13, Trump signed the measure into law, allowing states to block federal funds from going to abortion clinics, including abortion giant Planned Parenthood, according to the Daily Caller. Under Obama's pro-abortion policy, states did not have the authority to choose which health centers received federal Title X funding based on abortion services. Title X, part of the United States Public Health Service Act, was enacted to provide family planning services. Under Obama, the Department of Health and Human Services prohibited recipients of Title X grants from excluding a clinic from receiving funding based on anything other than its ability to provide family planning services, according to a White House press release. In other words, if a clinic, such as Planned Parenthood, offered any family planning services, as well as abortions, and otherwise qualified for the Title X grant, a state could not disqualify the clinic because of its abortion services. Now, individual states have the authority to determine which clinics receive those funds, as they should, not just because of pro-life beliefs, but also because of states' rights. Seema Verma, administrator of the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, pointed to the legislation as proof that the president was keeping his campaign promises, referring to Trump's vow to support pro-life and states' rights policies if elected. It's an important step for the administration that shows they want states to be in charge of the decision-making, Verma told reporters. Penny Nance, the CEO of Concerned Women for America, also applauded Trump's signing of the bill, as it allows more funding to go to other health centers that provide needed services for women and families, but do not perform abortions. We have been clear we want to shift funding from Planned Parenthood to community health